the third oil painting demo that I've done, and this painting will be in preparation for our November 14th oil painting class. And today we're going to do a painting that I did actually in watercolor a few weeks ago. It's called California Mission, and some of the students in the class really liked the watercolor version and they wanted to do it in oil, so we have taken the same basic design and we've drawn a sort of a cropped version of it. It's a little bit smaller than the one I did in watercolor. The buildings that were on the far right side are gone, and so basically we're going to focus on this well and the building behind, and we're going to see if we can do it in about 4 hours. That will make it workable for our oil painting class. So we've got it ready to go, and I have to put a little bit light oil on it right now to cover the sketch. I've actually taken the sketch here on tracing paper, and I've copied it with graphite transfer paper onto the canvas. So, and you should be able to see that hopefully. I may zoom in a little bit here and let you take a little closer look at part of it, but I think you can see it on the canvas here. So what I want to do now is get some of my light linseed oil, and we'll put a light coating of oil over the canvas, and we'll get ready to go. Take just a little bit on my brush here and just start putting a little light coat over this whole thing to see if we can get it lightly covered. We don't use not using the liquid white, which is one of our typical painting approaches. So by putting this oil on, we'll at least have a little bit of oil on the canvas that will allow us to move the paint around a little bit. It is smudging just a little bit, which I don't particularly like, but that's the graphite on the canvas that came off of the transfer paper. But it still leaves all of the marks that we have here in place, and I can see where the major objects go and where we're going to have the buildings and flowers and trees, etc., and sky. So that's primarily all I need to do for coating it with a light coat of oil. If that looks to be too thick, I will take my paper towel in a minute and wipe it off, but right now that's going to do. And let's get started here with a little bit of sky color. I'm going to put in just some light blue sky back here. I'm taking my brush and cleaning it off. The colors on the palette I might want to mention, since I do have a special camera focused on the palette. We have our standard Bob Ross colors: titanium white, phthalo blue, Prussian blue, midnight black, Van Dyke brown, dark sienna, alizarin crimson, sap green. We have cad yellow here, yellow ochre, Indian yellow, and bright red. So I'm going to take just a touch of Prussian blue to get a little blue color here on the canvas, just for the sky, just for the background. We don't need a lot. Just going to touch it in up here, and using some of these crisscross strokes that we tend to use. A little bit thinner than I like it, but that's not too bad. I'll just put it right down close to this roof line. Run it over here. We don't need a lot. Just put a little bit in and let it sort of blend into the oil that's there. And that will be our sky. And we want to bring that down into the tree area, so I'm going to take some of that same blue and add a little bit of Indian yellow to it over here. So I'm actually mixing it over here by the sky color, and I'm going to come up here and touch in a little bit of this, putting in one layer of light color music, mixing in some of this blue that we have. A little bit too yellow maybe, but we'll go in and do this. Again, this oil on the canvas lets it run nicely and gives me this ability to get some nice effects with the trees. I want the trees to go up on the left, put a little bit more blue in it on the top left corner, kind of blend with the sky a little bit. Change the color a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of my cad yellow over here to give us a little different color green. But these trees are in the background. They don't have to show up a lot. I'm going to put a few more over on the right side. Same blue, use a little cad yellow, Prussian blue. I just want to come down over this roof line on the right side. And up here, try this. A little more, get a little white in there. That's probably good enough. Put a little blue to darken up the corner a little bit. There we go. And we're going to have other bushes and flowers and so forth down this right side, but right now I just want to get this blocked in. So we have a little green on top of this roof line and some green over here. Okay, so that's pretty good for what I want there. We are going to have some green down in here after a while. Over here we'll have a little green. Down in this corner we're going to have some green. Not going to do too much. I'll come back and finish that off later, but right now this is kind of what I want to get in. I need a smaller brush to get in between these buildings, so I'm going to pick up my number 10 filbert and get a little bit more of this green color that I have here for these trees. Maybe make it a little darker. It could be in the shadow a little bit here, and try to put some dark underneath this eave of this house back here. Try to paint it in. I'm going to put a few other colors to darken it just a little. Here we go. Something like this. And we will come back and put some of the building over the top of that and change the colors a little bit. We don't want them too bright. Over the roof of this building, down this side here, like this. Okay, so this filbert gets in smaller places, and we'll start getting some paint on there that looks like trees. I'm going to go touch this up around the roof line of this part of the building over here. Again, we got small places here to put this in. Darken it up just a little under here. I actually touched in a small amount of midnight black to just really darken it on this side. And I think that will be enough. I'll maybe just put a little more with this brush here. There we go. So we don't have too much sky in this painting. We do have a few trees in the background, and that nice green color going over there. We're going to have a lot of green going down the right side. So let's see here. Okay. All right. I just realized my palette camera was not actually recording, so I'm going to go over and hit the record button on it, get it going. Okay, now I think I have my camera going for the palette. Fortunately, you missed the description of the colors, but I will go over them again now that I have the palette camera turned on. Titanium white, phthalo blue, Prussian blue, midnight black, Van Dyke brown, dark sienna, alizarin crimson, sap green, cad yellow, yellow ochre, Indian yellow, and bright red. So now we have those specified for you again. That's because I didn't have a camera turned on. Trying to do all this myself, running cameras and handling the whole thing myself. Have to be multi-function here. Putting a few more colors in here in the trees just to sort of give myself a nice shape up here. I don't want these to be all the same, but that will start. That'll be good. Start right there. Okay, so much for that. All right, now let's take a look at this roof on this building on the right-hand side. Clean out my filbert brush. And this roof has some of the dark sienna in it. We'll lighten it up a little bit with titanium white, dark sienna, touch in a little bit of Van Dyke brown to get some darker colors. You can put a little alizarin crimson in there, get a little reddish color. So the color I'm mixing has dark sienna, titanium white, and alizarin. So on this roof area, I'm going to start back here somewhere and just sort of put in the outline of this roof and more dark sienna here. We want to gradiate this. We want to change it into a lighter color as we come down, so we're going to change the color a little bit. Lighten it up as we come here, like this. Pick up a little alizarin and change this color over here a little bit. Maybe put in some dark browns and some spots. Here we go. So we're just trying to make it look so that we don't have the same color across the whole top of the building, top of the roof line. Even add a little of this bright red in there in some spots. So it's just going on fairly quickly. Okay, that's pretty good for that. Over here, leave a little light area on the right side, and add a little ochre to this and lighten it up on this right side here. See if that, oh yeah. Something like that. Lighten it up. Put a little darker color in here. This is the bottom of the eave that sticks out. And on that back side we'll have just a little bit of white. I haven't cleaned my brush hardly at all. And we can come back and put some fine touches on this roof line after a while. Lighten it up maybe. Need to get myself some lavender going here. A little bit of this Prussian blue and alizarin crimson and white. Like this color here for this eave. I'm not making straight lines, trying to make these lines all have a little bit of angles to them, or bumps, something like that. All filbert brush so far. Okay, this other side now, I'm going to put in some of a lavender color on the right side, and I want to, at this point here, I want to make it dark at this point and taper it off. So we move back this way, and then I want to also start warming it up a little bit, so I'm going to bring in some yellow ochre and some more white in there. It needs to lighten it up. White and yellow ochre are going in right here. So I get a little color change from a dark purple to a yellow ochre in this area. A little more right there, something like that. Okay, so I've got the side of that building. They're pretty well done. I have another spot down here that's just like it. So I'm going to echo that color down here, pick up a little more of my ochre with white, and sort of put it in here. It's going to be covered with some bushes and actually flowers and that sort of thing, so I don't need to have the thing completely repeated all the way down there, but that's what that edge of the building is going to look like. Okay, now let's look on the front face of this building here. I'm going to take my filbert brush. I'm going to keep using this filbert brush because it is small and fits into some of these nice small places where I have to have it. This particular top of the building, I'm going to put a little undercoat of white here and come back and layer over some shadow color in a minute. It's sort of a dirty stucco type look. So I'm just sort of painting it that color. It's white, it's got a little bit of brown in it, and I'll pull this purple in there in some spots, a little too much. So let's go fix that. Yeah, leave room for these windows up here. So we're just doing the front of this building. And we'll paint around where the flowers are going to go. But right now this is a good take on the front of the building right there. Okay, something like that. Okay. Now, the other part is similar. It's white, but it's a little dirtier actually. So I'm going to touch in a little gray, get my midnight black with a little white over here. I'm going to start it down right here just to make a little separation so you can see there's a different part of the building goes below here. And it's kind of it's a similar stucco, but it's a little bit slightly different color just from the way the weather has treated it, I guess, is the only thing I can think would make it that way. Maybe I'll add some colors over here in some spots, darken it up in some spots. I don't want 2 inches of this canvas to go by without changing the color, the texture, something about this painting so that we don't have big areas that all look alike. Nothing is more boring in a painting than having big swatches of boring color, of the same color. So by using these other colors and intermixing them while I'm on the canvas, I can actually start changing them up a little bit and giving a little different look at these places. So here's another spot. So I'm building these down, these posts that are here. They're sort of a dirty stucco as well. So that's starting to look a little bit like I want it. And again, this is somewhat of an underpainting. We will come back and do a little more touch-up on some of it, but right now that's going to last for a little while. Inside this portico area, underneath this porch-like area, is a color that I need to try to create here. Got some purples in it. It's got some brown in it. It's kind of a reddish color. So I'm using the midnight black, a little white, and then putting a little bit of this dark sienna in it. So I want to get a different color in here underneath, like this. leave room for my shadow side of my post on these vertical posts. A little more of this color I get with midnight black and white. It's a gray color. And put more of that over here. Whoops. Need some more dark sienna in there so it looks brown or reddish, more reddish. There we go, something like this. So I'm painting around now okay, we're back. We had a little delay there from our camera running on memory stick instead of on videotape, which I have just fixed. I need to also take a photograph of this, so I'm going to jump in front of the camera and take a stage photo. Okay. So where are we? We are painting the inside of this porch area underneath the this building in the back, and trying to get this all pretty well put in here. Mostly an underpainting right now. I'm going to come back and go over it again with some other paint, a little bit thicker paint, but right now I just want to get that part in. Our shadow side of these little posts is here. Make it a little bit darker. Something like that. Have this going on the side. And then we sort of pull that into another darker color that fits up here like this. And over here, the same thing. Something like that. These little connectors here, we can fine tune those with the brush in a little bit, but right now that'll do. Inside here, we're going to have a door. Fits in here, and it's going to have a dark top on it. Something like that. And it's going to have some windows and things in there that we can actually rough in right now. Something like that, and a bottom area that's a little darker. Okay, that looks good there. The window over here, we'll put in a placeholder for a window there. Windows up here, we got a couple windows up here I want to put in. Put those in. I think I had one over here. And there was a little one right here. Okay. Okay, so that sort of finishes out that part of the building. Oh, I had one other window, excuse me, that was on this side wall over here, like that. Not very plain to see. Okay. All right, that's good enough for that part of the building right now. I'm going to start working on this wishing well, the roof. I got a lot of oil on here, I noticed, so I'm going to dab some of that off so I don't have too much oil floating around. And it's got a nice reddish roof, probably dark sienna, a little alizarin maybe. Throw in a little bit of white to lighten it up, see what that looks like. And we'll start in here, come across, change our color. Something like that. Mix in some darker colors, picked up a little of this gray color that we had made from midnight black and white. And sticking it in over here. That'll work for that. The eave is going to be a little darker. That might be too dark, but right now that's what I'm going to paint it. Sort of outlining these things. This eave over here is the same way. Comes over there. This bar in here probably needs to be a little bit lighter, but it's still just lighten it up a little. Here we go. Something like that. Run it down. It's all part of the same piece of wood, if you will. Run it down. Put a little ochre in there and see what that does. There we go. Pick up a little light from the bottom. Some of this wood is many times has a sort of ochre tint to it, so we'll throw that in. There we go. So we have a little change of color, some warmth up here at the top, a little cooler there, and then warmer down at the bottom. Okay, there's going to be flowers down here. All right, that will hold that for now. Let's see, under this area, right in here, there's another sort of a flat beam or a piece of wood, that fascia type wood that goes along that area. All right, so that should start looking like a roof over this wishing well. We also have this other bar, or other post, I guess we'd call it, over here that sort of sets in the shadow, but it sort of runs down like this and runs up at the top of that, the wishing well at the bottom. That was fairly quick. I'm going to clean out my brush and see if I can put in a little bit of this underneath part of the roof. I'm using a little alizarin, a little light white, and a little yellow ochre. Put in here, underneath this roof is the underside of the I'm making it lighter. I could have made it darker, but I've already got a lot of dark in this painting. I don't want to make it look like it's too dark, but that will, making these strokes horizontally will make it look like there's something going on there. It should be a little darker here and lighter at the back. So that filled that in nicely. All right. Touch up some of those edges. All right. I'm getting a good underpainting here. I'm going to go back and pick up now a little of this the greenish color that we had. Still working with my number 10 filbert. The green color with, I'm going to use some ochre. Pick up a little of this Prussian blue and mix it down here. I think I'm going to stick a little brown in it. Brown this thing up a little bit. And we're going to have some little darker colors in here that really represent some of the foliage and leaves that go in this area. I'll come back and touch in some flowers and that sort of thing here after a bit. Right now I just want to kind of color in this area with these different greens, some yellows, some browns. I'm just sort of scumbling, if you will. That's a term that some artists use to talk about putting paint on with a sort of the rough edge of the brush. Sort of kind of push the brush. A little more yellow in here. Like this. Change the color, change the shape, don't have it all look alike. Okay, that's pretty good. There is some that comes down over here, so I'm going to go ahead and put some of that in. On this side, try to keep the color very similar. It'll look like it does fit together that way. Put in the paint around the building and the post. Pick up some other colors, some darks, some lights. Some blues. A little white in there, maybe lighten it up. Okay, and that color should exist over here in these little spots. You should see it. And over on this side, even. I'm still kind of scumbling and what some green from there will look like. There we go. I think there's another wall back here somewhere that I'm going to put in a color to it so that these greens don't all run together and look like one big mass. Back there, I'm going to have some greens over here. This is going to connect over here. I'm going to actually run up this way. I'm just pushing up with the brush. And I've added a little bit to my color. I've added a little sap green and cad yellow here. A little brighter green. This is more in the sunlight over here on the right side. So let's push some of that stuff in. So we're getting some interesting colors. I'm going to throw ochre in there just to change it up a little bit. Put some shadows in. Try to stay away from this side of the building if I can. So we see that building sort of sticking through there. And wrong color, but we'll fix that. There we go. More cad yellow, lighten it up. Sort of swirling and scumbling and pushing and pulling. So I want this to look like an interesting shape here. That's got to be an interesting shape. We're looking at positive shapes and negative shapes. And so we don't want to have a lot of cloning or duplicate shapes in here. We want to make them all different. Make it look like this is all random patterns of things, of bushes and that sort of thing. So it's starting to fill in over here better. Top, I think I need a little more up here, darker. Put some stuff up here. Myself a little bit of a, it looks like, there we go. Okay, so that's starting to come along. Over here, let me touch this up. I'm going to put a little yellow in there just to see if I can brighten it up a little bit. I said we're going to come back and put some bright flowers in here too, so some whites and some magenta color. But I want this to all kind of cover this building, and it's got to have different shades and variations in it. So we want some darker, we want some lighter. The darkness will actually separate this so we have a different, looks like a different set of bushes. Then if we come back and put some more green on top of it, or cad yellow on top of that, we start lightening it up. These are really pretty nondescript things. This is not, I'm not trying to paint every tree and every bush. Just trying to paint in a nice piece of foliage over there so that it covers that corner and it makes it look like there's a lot of interesting things going on here. I'm just pushing the brush. Push up, push up. Okay. Okay, that's starting to give me some flavor of the building. I'm going to come back and take another quick photo here. Okay. Now, this area underneath this porch really got some pretty lavender color in there. Taking some white and alizarin crimson, getting an interesting pink. I'm going to take a little of my blue, just a touch, and put it in there and see what I can get. Maybe a little black to try to get a light lavender color here. Sort of a steel gray color. It might be some sort of slate-like. It's this ground area underneath here. I want to outline these posts so I don't it is in shadow. Pick up a little more white, lighten it up here. Okay, we're going to have some more shadows out here, but they're going to be a little darker, so I'm going to try to darken that up a little, maybe 1 or 2 values darker here. Over here, just to separate it, get some nice color in there that we don't have right now. Okay, we got some browns. Let's put in a little more brown in here. So this area is going to have some more flowers and bushes here. This area is going to be lighter, more of a steel color. Pick up some more white, throw it in there. Something like that. Over here, we got similar color. We want to tie these together. So we're getting a lot on here very quickly. Looks like we've been painting on this for about maybe 45 minutes or so. I'm going to put a little of this wall color here, I want to call it. Looks like might be part of another wall that goes back here. Actually has more greenery growing on it. Something like this. Ooh, get that green out of there. So we have something that looks like a wall and walkway back here. That'll work. Okay. We're making progress. Oh, let's see now. Over here. That's the front of this. This gray in over here. It's got to be not too specific, just sort of interesting colors, but I don't want the eye to go over there. I want to try to keep the eye closer to the center of interest, which will probably be somewhere in this area here when I get some flowers in there and brighten it up. Okay. Now, another step. Let's do something with this brick. Take some bright red and a little of my dark sienna and a little bit of yellow ochre and see if I can make the color for the well right here. So there and okay, I'm back to the front of this. So that's going to have to be a little darker. So I'm going to darken it down just a little. Vertical surfaces need to be darker than the horizontal surfaces. Something like that. Make the inside a little darker even than that. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just making some crisscross strokes in here to make it look like there's some brick on the front of this. We can touch it up as well in a few minutes. Add some more stuff to it. But that's a good start for that. And what else do I need to do there? I think that'll work. All right. For this area on the left, beside the over here, I want to make that some dark greenery in here to sort of close that off and make it look like it's got some greenery behind it. And in here, we're going to start putting in some more of this green. Pick up my sap green, Indian yellow, and throw some of these jobs in here like this. Again, I'm pushing up on the brush. Pushing up, pushing out. So I'm actually pushing over the paint that's on the canvas and making these little bushes. Pull a darkness underneath them. Show some shadow, between some blue, couple of colors under here, and then back on the left side we'll brighten this up again. Now I'm just kind of pulling up like that. I'm going to come back and touch in a little bit of this dark color and pull up underneath there. in this sort of fashion to make it look like they're growing out of the ground. I want to put that same color over here in this corner. A little darker, maybe it might be in shadow. Okay, so that's a bush there, this little bush here. I think I'll connect that up here to that. All right, now we got it. So I have a little walkway here, a little pathway that people might take. Some more. Over here, I want some more of this stuff. So I'm just pushing up again. Come back, get some darker color, put underneath it. Okay, now I'm getting a feeling of some interesting bushes here, interesting flowers. Bright yellow is going to stick up. I'm going to touch in some red. Okay, that's starting to get pretty well, got the canvas covered here. And I have a nice little lead in here that takes me into the center of interest. Which is important in any painting. That's a landscape at least. You want to help move the eye into the painting. And let's get a little more of this steel color here and put a little bit under here like this. All right, darker, some shadows coming out here from these things like this, because the sun is on the left. So let's darken down the back, this side, put some shadow here. Make sure that you don't pick up that green in the brush like I just did. And pull it into the, this area here should be a little darker as well, probably. It's going to be more in shadow. Okay, like that. All right. Over here, we're not going to have as much shadow there, but on this side, we come back and sort of blend this together, flick in some vertical streaks here like that, make it look like bushes. Starting to take the look that I want. Flick up, vertical flicks always make it look like grass when you're using a bristle brush like this. It's either grasses or some sort of leaves or something. Okay, all right. I think it's time for another photograph. Okay, we are getting close to working on some of the finishing touches now. I may have to pull out my little rigger brush, script liner, and see if we can see what we can do for some fine details now around these windows, around the doors, clean up around some of these vertical posts, and put some finishing touches on it, and I think we will have it. So when I do that, I use my very fine thin rigger brush. I get some thinner on it, and I start putting a place on my palette so that I can get some colors here that are very, very runny, if you will. Almost like ink, but I want to roll it up and get some good paint in the brush. I'm trying to create a gray color that's fairly runny. I want to make it, I'm going to go around these doors here with some of this gray color and see what happens here. Put in some detail here to sort of set these doors in place. Okay, something like that. I get a little more paint on here. I'm just pulling up with the side of the brush, trying to make something in this door happen. Over here I want something similar in this window. Since the sun is coming from the left, I want the top to be a little darker and the left side to be a little darker. And maybe underneath this area there. So let's get some more of this in the brush. Up here we have a similar situation. Okay, over here we have a, don't have to define that too much, that's pretty well defined. Okay. Putting some touches on this eave, covering up some of the canvas. Okay. Here. Sharpen this up a little bit so it's not quite so hard to read. Let's see, under here. Okay. Put in some markers here that look like we've got something on top of this post. Okay, let's see. And here we have inside this set of posts, we have something darker here. Let me see if I can get the right value. It's in the shadow, but it's the there, we got some here, some there. Hopefully that's starting to stand out a little bit. Coming down here like this. Okay, we've got to show the back sides of these. And that green grass actually needs to, not green grass, but green foliage behind this gazebo or wishing well needs to stand out a little bit, so I'm going to just touch it up with the brush while I got the brush in there. In here, fine tune that. Here and over here. And under here. So just wherever that meets, I don't want to have white canvas sticking out. I'm trying to cover up some of that white canvas. I might put a flower or two in there, so that's filling in nicely. All right, there. all the way down here like that, around this guy. All right. So that cleaned that up a little bit. What else did I need to clean up? Probably do need some shadows up there on top. I don't have a good shadow. Let me, before I do that, let's see. Let me get some of this color that I had for these posts, and it was white with black. And I'm gonna make myself some more of that color here, so I can come in and sort of redo these a little bit to fine-tune this area here. Have some white canvas in there I don't want, so I'll just get it out of there. Same thing over here. Part of this is because I used that filbert brush for about everything, so I ended up with places where I couldn't get the brush in enough detail. So I can use this brush. There's probably other brushes we could use, but we don't all have them in our palettes, so we don't all have the brushes, so I'm just using the brushes that everyone has, so that tends to limit sometimes what you can do if you don't have the right brush. But I don't want to do something with a different brush that nobody in our group has, so I'll just use the brushes we have and we'll get what we get. Okay, it's starting to look a little better. At least it's getting cleaned up. This edge seems to be okay, I guess. Yeah. All right. Do I need some more here? Maybe I need a little more paint there. It's getting a little washed out. Yeah. We'll put some other colors in here to sort of give it a little bit of a interesting texture in some spots, so we don't have the same boring color all the way across there. This is my 2-inch rule. Don't have the same color running for 2 inches. All right, that's starting to look better. Now this area underneath the porch again, I'm going to come back and get some more of this color that I had under there. Get it liquefied a little bit with some thinner, and that color had dark sienna in it and a little bit of alizarin in it, and I'm going to fine tune some of it in here like this. Okay. Hopefully that's going to work. Need a little ochre in some spots here. I think I'll pull that in just to warm it up a little bit. This yellow ochre turns up in a lot of places, even at the bottom of some of these posts. Warms it up and gives us some variegation in color, which we want to have everywhere we can find it. I think I even lost some of it here. I had some here that I wanted in. Yeah. So it just sort of gives you some cool and warm colors to look at. And how are we doing? How's it looking? Okay. This area over here probably is standing out a little bit too much. It's probably a little too light, but I'll work on that in a moment. step back, look at it, see if it needs to have some changes made. I think I'm going to go back and get my filbert here for just a minute. I'm going to darken up this area back here. I think it's a little too light. There's my eye that keeps going over there, and I don't want the eye to go over there too much. I want that to be pretty, a little boring. It's just a wall back there that I don't want to stand out very much. Okay. Back here, touch up a little bit. And need to stop a moment. Okay, I'm back. We had a little problem with our palette camera this time. Had to go in there and fix it up and get another memory stick running. Just sort of fine-tuning some of this area in here that's in the shadows a little bit. And I want to have some specific shadows coming from these posts, so I'm going to take a little bit of this midnight black and just put myself in some diagonal shadows here, like that. Makes those posts stand out. And this area around the door needs some more touch up. Okay. Smooth those out a little bit. Smooth that out a little bit. Smooth the door out a little bit. Okay, that's starting to look decent enough. I am going to put on this shadow up here on the top. Needs to be somewhat angled like this. So I'm just putting on a nice shadow color that makes it look like the sun is okay, that gives it a little more 3D effect. And this gives some 3D effect here. We also have some shadows that are coming in that are made by these bushes. So I'm going to just touch in some, take some midnight black because it sort of turns purple. Put a few little spots across here that look like might be shadows from sun reflecting on these bushes out here. Even some in here a little bit. That's good. Okay. And now I think I want to start putting in some of these flowers and trying to brighten this thing up a little bit. I'm going to try to use this filbert brush if I can. Get myself some bright red and alizarin and white and see what kind of color I can get out of this. With the white and alizarin I get a really nice bright pink color, and if I add a little bit of this cad red with it, I can get a couple different colors, a little darker red. So I can come in and start touching in some spots where I want some pink flowers to exist. If I want them to be redder, I'll come in and touch in some just pure red. I'm not trying to paint flowers, I'm trying to put something that looks like flowers in here. And fool the eye if I can into thinking there's some really nice looking flowers in there. Some whites, some reds. And I'm just picking up paint on the tip of this filbert brush. I'm just sort of flicking it in there with the tips of the bristles. Some more white here, one more red. Let's try it down here and see what happens. We're not trying to make a specific type of flower. I don't know what they would be, but I'm going to mix in some pinks and reds and oranges and just enough to lighten it up. I'm going to come back, I think, and even put some purple in there in a minute to give ourselves some light purples on top of this. So this is just an interesting little set of bushes with flowers, and I'm picking up green on the brush every time I touch over that green, so I have to keep wiping this brush out to make sure I don't get it too polluted with green. Otherwise I end up with a, when I use red and green together, they gray one another out and you end up with gray, and I don't want gray. So I have to keep watching for that. Come back and just hit some nice reds in here. Over here I want some reds hanging over. Get me some more white. Get a bunch of paint on the end of this brush and just sort of touch in here. And then get away so that you don't pick up that green and put it back down on the canvas. Wipe the brush out, pick up some more paint. Get some really bright reds in there. So the bright red will draw your eye over here. So if I want predominantly reds or bright colors over here, reds, and we'll end up on this part of the canvas here. Some whites. How about getting some purples in there? Mix up some bit of alizarin along with my blue, along with my white, and get them white enough to really stand out, but know they're sort of purple. And touch those jobs in here. And there and over here, I want them hanging out over. Something like that, starting to look decent. Throw a few whites in here. How about some yellows? Let's take some cad yellow and stick in there in some spots. Maybe need to whiten it up a little bit too. Put myself some white and cad yellow. Get a bright yellow color here. It'll stick out. I'm just dropping these in all over the place. As long as I got some paint on the brush that doesn't have green in it, I'll stick them in. Okay, we're starting to get some interesting things there. Some oranges and some other colors over here. Don't want to take too much over here because this will tend to draw the eye over here, and that's not the center of the interest. So keep these sort of muted, sort of blurred, if you will. And we're going to put in some more darks that will give us another layer of bushes here, if you will. So each time I put a set of darks in there, it gives me another layer of these bushes. And all I'm doing to get that is just putting in some midnight black with some of this yellow in it, and just kind of flicking it in, pushing it in with the brush. Okay, over here I want some more darks in the bottom of this one. Getting very close to finish with this. There may be some fine tuning I can do, but pretty much this may be it. Let me step back and take a look. Okay, we have now finished this job off. Put in some colors over here that sort of fill this in a little bit. I want this to be totally disconnected. That will help keep that from looking too rectangular over there. All filbert brush here again. Whites, yellows, okay. Okay. Know when to stop. Always a challenge. Okay, I think that's going to do it. Take one more look. See if I need a little more shadow color in here for these bushes, maybe just a little darker. Tie it together with this. Yeah. Something over here. Touch these up a little bit. Add a little more. Few things that aren't too descriptive, just sort of something in there that makes it look like you got something going on anyway, right there. Okay, I think I'm going to call it quits and say that is it for today. And hopefully when I get this edited, you will be able to watch it online before class on November 14th. This is the painting we will do on November 14th. It has taken me about 70 minutes, which is normal. If I can do it in 70 minutes, usually that means we can get it done in our class in 4 hours. So, till I see you again, I hope you like the painting, and hope you like the looks of this in oils, as it does look a little different than the one we did in watercolors. And I'll see you next time. So long for now.